Hey guys, I'm driving to work right now, so sorry for the audio. I was just having this thought because I don't even know how to articulate it, but when I was younger, everything felt like a choice. And I don't mean this in like a delinquent way, more in the sense that I literally felt like I had a choice about everything. Like, if I wanted to go to school, I could just not go. Like, I could just pretend to be ill and not go, or I could just bunk off, or if I didn't want to go to my weekend job, I could just not go. And don't get me wrong, like, I didn't really do that much. Like, I mean, maybe when I was sort of like 17-ish, I was a little bit more like delinquent-y than, I don't know. But for the most part, you know, I showed up. One thing I loved doing though was quitting. That was really my specialty. I loved quitting jobs. And you might be asking, what the fuck are you talking about and what is the point? And basically, what I've been thinking about is how as we get older, we're granted with so many more freedoms. I think primarily through financial means, but along with that kind of comes this innate mindset that you don't have a choice. And I don't know if this is like a developmental thing, like a brain development thing, or if it's like a rat race thing. I really don't know what it is. But when I was 17, for example, every day I would wake up and debate whether or not I would go to work. Like, it was like, there's so many other things I could be doing with my day. And now I don't even think twice about it. I just do it. Like, it doesn't even cross my mind. Even when I'm ill, I feel bad taking a day off work when I'm ill because I'm like, they're gonna think I'm a liar. That's actually kind of not really relevant. But I feel like a lot of people will relate to that, of like, you know, you just show up and you just do it and you just get it done, you know? And I think it's interesting to me, I guess, to maybe think about the way in which this changes, or like at what point this changes. And I've been trying to pinpoint it because I don't really know, and I can't tell if it's just an emotional state thing. Like, if you're happier, you're more inclined to do the thing, you know? That sounded really millennial. I don't mean like do the thing, you know what I mean? Like, you're more inclined to do the thing that you maybe, if you weren't as happy, would put off, you know? If you love your job, you're probably not going to want to call in sick every day because you like going to work. And I am very fortunate to love my job. I really do love my job. So I don't have, you know, I'm not, as Stassi Schroeder would say, I'm not burdened by those anchors. But I feel like even when there was, you know, there's been times in my adult life that I've done jobs I didn't necessarily like, and I've still not really been in that state of like, okay, well, guess I just won't go. And I guess then maybe the second part would be responsibility and consequences. And this is where I kind of think that it ties into just your brain fully developing, because when you're younger, you don't really have any comprehension of consequences. Like, you act very much on instinct, and it's like, you know, id, ego, superego haven't really fully developed. That was a terrible statement. But, you know, you kind of are more in the id and ego side of things, where you're just like, oh, just do it. And you kind of, it's almost like, what's the saying? It's easier to ask for forgiveness than it is to ask for permission. That's kind of the way that I viewed a lot of my childhood. And I think, I guess maybe we just have a broader gauge of what things mean. You know, it's like, and I also feel like the consequences are starker than they would be at 16, 17, 18 years old, you know, like for a lot of people, I mean, I was very fortunate not to have to pay rent for a very long time. And I think that's a big factor. You know, I didn't have that thing in my head of like, well, if I don't do this, I will be homeless, you know, or I will be in a tough spot financially, because for quite a long time my money was just disposable, you know. And I guess maybe, you know, that would tie itself to a privilege thing. So that kind of, I guess, wouldn't be generalized to everyone. But it's interesting because now I feel like part of me would expect to still have the thought, you know, but do it anyway. Like, I'm aware that I need to make money so I can live my life, but you know, what I could be doing instead. And I really just don't think about that. Like, I don't know what it is, because if you tie it to privilege, which it was for a very long part of my life, and you know, there's still, I still am overwhelmingly privileged as a person. So there probably is an element of that, like, you know, I think it's maybe that thing of like things being a choice or things being forced upon you. At the end of the day, if I don't like it, I can leave and get something else. And I think maybe that's the thing of like yes, I have bills to pay, yes, I have rent, whatever, you know, I have to make ends meet, but I wouldn't worry about having to move on, you know, or get another job, or be in that in-between period for a while, because I've got savings and I have a great relationship with my family, and you know, they would help me out in that sense. Like, they're quite, like, my family are quite, not laxed, but like, well, I mean, they are lax, but quite, you know, when it happens, it happens. Does that make sense? Like, it's like a, you can pay me back type thing. Like, it's okay, you know, like, it's fine, we'll be fine. And I'm obviously, again, very fortunate to be in that position. And I think it's interesting, because I think about like when I was younger, and I would literally I would wake up before my work shift, depending whatever job I was doing at that time. I think there was a time I had 3 jobs on top of full-time college. So, you know, I was definitely working myself to the bone, but I would just dread it. I remember there was this one winter, I worked in an ice cream shop for a few years when I was younger, and they would close down over winter, so I would get a winter job, and then when the ice cream shop opened back up, I'd quit the winter job and go back to the ice cream shop. Anyway, whatever. I got a job in Sainsbury's. I was 16 years old. It was like a Christmas temp position, so it was perfect for me because it was just in that short window. And I have never hated a job more. Like, I've had some terrible jobs, like some really rough, rotten jobs, and that job has to have been one of the worst. Like, I don't know what it was about it. I think it was a combination of like the sensory issues, because oh my god, I was on the meat counter, so that just made it far worse. The sensory issues of just like weird bits of like meat and sinew around me all the time. And then also just working with a bunch of people who clearly hated their job. And like a lot of them seemed to actually just like hate their life as well. Like, it was just like working around really angsty, angry people all the time. And it was just not enjoyable. Like, it was just not a fun environment at all. And I remember every day I would wake up and genuinely contemplate my lifestyle choices. Like, I would be like, why, what am I doing here? I only worked there for like 2 months, but that was probably the longest 2 months of my life. But yeah, I just remember, like, I used to I used to really think like I don't have to do this. And I guess maybe part of that is how I've been raised. Like, I was very much raised like, if you are in an environment that is not serving you, leave. Like, I am quite literally a professional leaver. Like, I can leave like no other. And I mean, it's not been great for my avoidant tendencies, but it's definitely taught me boundaries and like, you know, stand on my own 2 feet and like how to communicate and, you know, things like that. So for that, I'm definitely very grateful. But I think when I was younger, like if I didn't want to do something, I would just never do it. Like, I just wouldn't. And there was nothing anyone could say or do. I couldn't be bribed. I couldn't be persuaded. Like, there was nothing. And I guess, again, this is so situational because my mum always raised me very much on like, we don't do bribes. Like, you will never be bribed for anything, and you'll never be compared to anyone for anything. It's like, oh, if you do better than this person, you get this reward. Like, I am probably the least competitive person you'll ever meet. Like, I simply don't care. I actually just couldn't care less. I love playing games. Like, I love like a game session. I don't know what you'd call it, like a board game night or like I don't know. But I'm just not competitive. Like, I'm just there to enjoy the game and have fun. And I really enjoy that is a quality that I have, because honestly, when I meet people that are competitive, they just always seem so tired and like stressed out, and I just think you need a rescue breath and maybe a Xanax because you're stressing me out. But then I think about these people that I know that have been competitive for a very long time, like friends I've had for quite a long time. They've always been that way. Like, they haven't just had this change overnight where it's like, oh yeah, you know, like when they were younger they weren't driven and now they are. Like, I feel like I've become more driven as I've gotten older, whereas these people that are competitive just didn't. Like, they were just always competitive. And it's interesting. I don't know why I'm talking about competitiveness, because that doesn't really have anything to do with what I'm talking about, but interesting side point nonetheless. I don't know, I'm at work now, so I'm gonna have to go, and I didn't really come to any kind of conclusion on this at all. But okay, main takeaways as I pull into the office. Main takeaways. No, I have none. I have no takeaways. Why? I have none. I don't have an answer for myself. Why do I get on with things now? And like, I think, okay, quickly while I'm here, I've just pulled up. But what I do think is that a lot of it ties itself to I think I was trying to say this earlier and I got sidetracked, but like the freedoms that you have as a child or as a teenager are very different to the freedoms that you have as an adult. And I feel like the way to access those freedoms as an adult is literally through work or through doing things that maybe like aren't like, you know, as fun, I guess. So like the fun things to do as an adult, like go on holiday, maybe you go to festivals, maybe you, I don't know, want to do a marathon. All of those things you have to pay for, right? All of those things you have to pay for. So you have to make some kind of income. So I guess maybe in that sense, it gives you more drive and more ambition. I have a whole other episode on ambition. Maybe I'll do like a combined episode. I don't know. But as a child, the things that I found fun as a child were literally just frolicking. I love to frolic now, but if you gave me the option as a child of, not a child, but like a teenager, of go to your 9-to-5 horrible job where everyone hates you and there's weird meat smells all day, or sit in your favourite park all day. Come on, do you know what I mean? And I think as an adult, obviously it's like, well, yeah, I'd love to sit in a park all day, but also then I wouldn't be able to afford my holiday to the Maldives or, you know, wherever you're going. And I think that's the thing, like we have that delayed gratification. I think delayed gratification comes in as you get older, and I think maybe that's my takeaway, is that maybe this is the answer that I've been looking for, is that it all just comes down to delayed gratification, which is a skill that children just don't possess. And we should stop being so harsh and cruel to children and young teens that aren't acting like adults, because they're not meant to act like adults. And if they want to, you know, not understand the consequences of their actions, they shouldn't have to, because their brains physically can't. And that's my final takeaway. Love you guys. Bye.